Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Farah Deeba. I am a biology teacher at Senior Secondary School Girls. Today I am going to deliver a lecture on the topic pollination. So in this lecture we will understand the meaning or the definition of pollination, the types of pollination and importance of it. That is how it plays an important role in reproduction in flowering plants. So let us begin with the definition of pollination. So in this we will study about pollination, self-pollination, that is the types of pollination, cross-pollination, what are the different agents of pollination. So first of all is definition. Actually, pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of a flower. Now the flower, this transfer takes place on the same flower. It can take place on the different flower born on the same plant or a different plant. So this whole process is actually known as pollination. And as we know, the pollen grains, they are immobile, they cannot move their self, so they cannot reach to the stigma by themselves. So for that we need an external agent to bring about the two gametes in contact. So this can be wind or water or with the help of any other agent like animals. Pollination is actually of two major types. The first one is the self pollination and the other one is cross pollination. Self pollination, again, as you can see, the self pollination is again divided into two main types, that is autogamy and G-tonogamy. Now cross pollination, depending upon what kind of pollinating agent is being involved, they are categorized into two main categories. The first one is abiotic agents and the other one is the biotic agents. Now as far as abiotic agents are considered, we have two main types: wind pollination and water pollination. Regarding the biotic agents, like the living organisms, we have insect pollination, birds pollination, bat pollination, and through other animals, through snails. So we have a lot of animals which bring about this pollination. Now we come on to the first we will understand what is self-pollination. Self-pollination is actually, it is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or another flower which is born on the same plant. That is known as self-pollination. Now self-pollination is again of two main types. The first one is autogamy and other one is G-tonogamy. So in self-pollination, same plant is involved. The transfer of pollen grains takes place on the same flower or the different flower, any other flower, but it should be born on the same plant. Then that is known as self-pollination. Now regarding the self-pollination, for self-pollination there should be a condition that the flower should have the male and the female sex organs, that is the stamens and the carpels, should be present in the same flower and they should mature at the same time. So these are the conditions for the self pollination. Now we come on to what is actually autogamy. Now autogamy is a kind of self-pollination in which only single flower is involved. Means when the transfer of pollen grain takes place from anther to the stigma within the same flower, then this is known as autogamy. And in case of normal flowers, like which opens normally and they have their stamens and stigmas exposed, so complete autogamy is rather rare. Means this is the condition, although the condition that is required in autogamy for autogamy, that they should mature at the same time, that is carpels and the pollens, they should mature at the same time, and they should also present close to one another. Only then this kind of transfer of the pollens will takes place. But when these flowers, they are the normal flowers, normal exposed flowers, so here complete autogamy is rather rare. Means there may be a chance that some other pollen may also come from the other flowers. So cross pollination chances may be there in such exposed flowers. Now some plants, like if we are talking about some plants like the viola, oxalis and commelina, they actually produce two types of flower. The first flowers, they are known as the chasmogamous flowers, and the other one are known as the clistogamous flowers. Now you can see these are the chasmogamous flowers and others are clistogamous flowers. So what are chasmogamous flowers? These are the flowers which are similar to the normal flowers which have exposed anthers and stigmas. So in such flowers, anther and stigma, they lie close to one another. Okay. And they mature at the same time, so there may be chances that other pollen grains may come and they brings about pollination. Now, but in case of these clistogamous flowers, these are such kind of flowers which do not open at all, and their anthers and stigma, they actually lie close to one another. So when anther dies, they pollinate their own stigma, they reach to their own stigma. Means they are close, so there is no chance of cross pollination. No any other pollen may come and pollinate it. So these flowers actually, they produce assured seed set even in the absence of pollinators, because they remain closed. So these in this case we will achieve a pure autogamy. Now we come on to another type, that is another type of self-pollination, that is known as G-tonogamy. Now in G-tonogamy, as you can see, uh, again there is transfer. Again there is transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma, but here two flowers are involved, but they should be born on the same plant. So this type of pollination is known as G-tonogamy. Now G-tonogamy, although it is functionally cross pollination, means involving a pollinating agent, but genetically it is similar to autogamy. So genetically it is a self pollination, we have the same species, but there are chances other functionally, means functionally it is cross pollination, it involves the pollinating agent. So these are the two main types of self pollination. pollination. Now we come to know what are the advantages and disadvantages of self pollination. As we have told that the self pollination involves the transfer of the pollens from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or other flower, but it should be born on the same plant, so genetically they are similar. So the in self pollination, it actually maintains the parental characters. It means it maintains the purity of the race. Now it actually give rise to the pure lines. We get the pure lines if we don't want to get, and we don't want any kind of variation. We want just the pure lines. So with the help of this pollination we can easily get the pure lines. And most important, it does not need any pollinating agent or depend upon any other agent to bring about pollination. And also these plants does not need to produce large number of pollen grains. So these are some of the advantages of pollination. Now it has disadvantages also. As we know, this will not produce any genetic recombinations, means they will not allow the species or the plants to change according to the change in the environment. So such types of plants, they will be more immune to the diseases. They will not be as vigorous or as well adapted to the conditions in which they are present. So actually it gives rise to the inbreeding depression. So these are some of the disadvantages and advantages of self pollination. Now we come on to another type of pollination, that is known as xenogamy, or we also called it as allogamy. It is actually the transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of a genetically different flower. Means the cross pollination takes place between two flowers which are born on two different plants. Then such a pollination is known as cross pollination, xenogamy. And this type of pollination actually requires different agents to bring the pollens to the stigma. So this broadly consists of two main type of agents. The first one is the abiotic agents and other one is the biotic agents. Now abiotic agents include wind, water. Biotic agents include insects, birds, bats, and even it involves a number of other large animals, like it may involve primates like lemurs, arboreal or free dwelling animals, rodents, or even reptiles like lizards, janko lizards, garden lizards. So they can bring about pollination. So first of all, we see the abiotic agents, how they bring about the different kind of pollination. The first one is the pollination by wind. Now, pollination by wind or through air is known as anemophily, and all those flowers in which such kind of pollination takes place, these flowers are known as anemophilous flower. So, such flowers, they are adapted to be pollinated by wind. Like these flowers, these are small in size, they are colorless, odorless, and they are also nectarless, inconspicuous. Usually they are green. So here in these flowers, calyx and corolla, these are either reduced or absent. Or here in such flowers, what happens, the stamens, they are long and they actually hang outside. Likewise, the stigma, if we can say, the stigma They are large and feathery, and they are also exposed, hanging outside the flower just to trap the pollen grains. Here the pollen grains are versatile. As you can see, versatile anthers are those where the filament is actually fixed to a common single point, so the anthers, they can rotate in all the directions. So when the anthers mature, they dehisce, and then they move in all the directions. The pollens will release in the environment, and then they can easily be taken away along with the wind. Here the pollen grains, they are produced in large number, and these pollen grains, they are dry, they are non-sticky, they are unwettable. uh, Sorry, these are hairy, stigma is there. Then the pollen grains are light, they are small, they are dusty, dry, smooth, non-sticky. So they are light in weight, so they can easily be taken away to the long distances. Sometimes they have certain structures like winged, which can help them to be carried to the long distances all along with the wind. For example, we see such pollination in coconut palm, date palm, maize, many grasses, and cannabis. Now here in case of maize, we can see the male inflorescence. It is present on the upper side. It is terminal in position, and the female inflorescences, they are lateral in position. So when the pollens, when the anthers mature, the pollens release, and the female inflorescences, actually they have bushy and feathery stigma. So when they release, they can move in all the directions, and when they come in contact with these bushy and feathery stigmas, they get trapped, and thus they bring about pollination. So this is all about the pollination by wind. Now we come on to another type of abiotic agent, that is water. So pollination by water is known as hydrophily. Here we see that in flowering plants, only 30 genera they have this kind of pollination, and mostly they are monocots. So it is not very limited just about to 30 genera. It's a quite rare in flowering plants. Now, but we have seen in lower groups of plants, like we have seen in algae, in bryophytes, in pteridophytes, where we have seen that water is must for uh, fertilization. Without the presence of water, their life cycle cannot be completed, and for that, that is the reason why the pteridophytes and the bryophytes, they have their limited distribution, just confined to the regions where they have this moisture. Now, as far as some of the adaptations are considered, these flowers are again small, inconspicuous, and they do not have nectar, odor, and the pollen grains are again light, and they are produced in large number. They are unwettable due to the presence of mucilaginous covering is there just to protect, because they are present in water. Stigma is long, sticky, and again unwettable. And we know that the aquatic plants, their leaves and all, they have a covering of this mucilaginous covering. Now, as far as we consider this type of pollination, we have different types of plants, like in Vallisneria and Hydrilla. These are the freshwater plants. Some are sea grasses. This is the marine plant. Now, not all the aquatic animals, aquatic plant, they use water for pollination. In majority of the aquatic plant, such as the water hyacinth and water lily, what happens? The flowers, they are they emerge above the level of water, so they are exposed, and the pollination in them, it takes place simply like in case of like the land plants, by wind or by insects. Now in case of Vallisneria, what happens? The female flowers, they are present in one plant the male flower they are present, in another plant. So what happens, the female flowers they have long and coiled stalks, and the male flowers they are born on different plants. So when they detach from the plant, they float and they on the surface of water, and when they come in contact with the stigma of the female flowers, they bring about pollination. Now once the pollination is done, what happens, the long stigmas of the female flowers they coil, and then further fertilization takes place inside the water, and thus making the fruits. Now, in another plant like Rosostera marina, it is a completely submerged plant. Here, male and female flowers born on the same plant, and the pollen grains of such plants they are elongated, they are needle-like and without exine. And actually, these pollen grains they have the same specific gravity as that of water. So because of this reason they can float below the surface of water. So when they come in contact with the stigma, they bring about pollination, and then further development takes place. So this is all about the pollination on plants where through water. Now we come on to another type of pollination which takes place through insects or other animals, which we known as biotic agents. So these biotic agents include various animals, a large number of insects like bees, butterflies, uh, uh, other flies, beetle, wasp, ants, moths, snails, birds. So these are the common pollinating agents. So among the animals, particularly the insects, especially the honeybees, these are the dominant biotic pollinating agents. So first we talk about entomophily. Actually, entomophily is the pollination with the help of insects. Now what happens, actually insects they visit the flowers in search of food like the nectar or the pollen grains. These are actually the floral rewards. So these there are certain modifications, characteristics, certain these flowers are showy or brightly colored. Most insect pollinated flowers they have landing platform. The pollen grains they are produce less in number as compared to the um, wind pollinated or water pollinated flowers. These flowers they are showy, they have they are full of nectar, they have sweet smells, they have a strong smells also, and large showy petals. They have lot of nectar just to attract the different insects. So when the insects they visit a certain flower in search of the food, that is the nectar or the pollen grain. In doing so, the pollen grains, which are in case of these flowers, the pollen grains are sticky, so they get stick on the back of the insect. Now when the same insect visit another flower, then what happens, this pollen at this time it may come in contact with the stigma, and thus they bring about pollination. So in this way pollination takes place, and nectar and pollen grains are actually the floral rewards. Beside this, another reward is sometimes they also provide the safest place to the insects to lay their eggs. For example, yucca plant they lay their eggs, means the moths they lay their eggs in these yucca plants. Now we talk about another type of pollination that is known as ornithophily. It is actually the pollination by birds. So some of the adaptation for these uh, kind of flowers, that these are the flowers are brightly colored, especially the red, yellow, orange. They have large amount of nectar in the dilute form. The shape of these plants are tubular shaped, funnel shaped, and the nectar is present in the form of in the dilute form. So the birds, the common birds which bring about such pollination are the hummingbird, the sunbirds, etc. They have long neck, so they can easily sip the nectar. Some examples of these flowers are the bottle brush, the red silk, cotton, and hibiscus, etc. We have a number of flowers in which the pollination takes place by birds. So this is known as ornithophily. But these flowers, they are not they do not have a strong sense. So this is about the ornithophily. Now we come on to the advantages and disadvantages of cross pollination. As you know, cross pollination, they introduce genetic recombination, means they are responsible for a variation in the progeny, which is very important for the survival according to the present conditions. So this is very important. It makes the organism better fitted in the struggle for existence. So it helps in evolution. As far as disadvantages are considered, the cross pollination, it actually requires dependent on the pollinating agents, and chance factor is always there. So some we get variation if means the good characters of the race, they are likely to be spoiled. Some undesirable characters, some variations may come in that. So this is some of the disadvantages of cross pollination. Now we come on to the significance or importance of pollination. So as we see that for fertilization, pollination is a must condition, because after fertilization it helps in the formation of seeds and fruits. So pollination helps in bringing about fertilization. It actually brings the male and the female gametes come closer for the process of fertilization. And we have seen that variation, especially the cross pollination, it introduces variation in the plants due to mixing up of the different genes. So this helps the plant to better adapt itself according to the environment. So it helps in speciation. So this is all about the pollination. Thank you so much.